Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Thank you, KK, Phil, and Ryan on Listen Up. Ryan, the UConn women's basketball team defeats the North Carolina Tar Heels by a final score of 69-58. Ryan, you saw the whole game on ESPN2. A great game by both sides. And what did UConn do so well that UNC did not?
Yeah, well, hopefully I can get through this whole game recap. Been a little under the weather this whole week, so hopefully my voice can hold on for the duration of this game recap. But yeah, it was a spectacular game and a lot of history on the line tonight, specifically for UConn and specifically for their head coach Geno Auriemma, who the UConn Huskies win will tie the all-time record for the most wins as a college basketball head coach at 1,216. And that, of course, is to tie Tara Vanderveer. And it was a homecoming game for Sarah Strong, who, of course, chose UConn over UNC. Aubrey, Azzi, Ayana all participated in pregame warm-up, but were once out again tonight. And the same starters as well for as the first two games for UConn. North Carolina started out 2 for 2, but Paige Beckers answered both times with a three-pointer and a layup as her Husky teammates were providing screens to get Paige some open looks. Sarah Strong also got on the board, and how good has Sarah Strong been over these first three games? It turns out she was pretty much the perfect replacement for Aaliyah Edwards, and it was all Paige Beckers and Sarah Strong for UConn early, as Paige had 16 points, Sarah was 6 in the first quarter. India Navarre had 9 of UNC's 14 points in the first quarter for the Tar Heels. KK, the first sub off the bench for the Huskies, she got a nice steal to set up a basket and also had a nice drive of her own to get on the board. Paige Becker, she was feeling herself tonight. Three three-pointers, including one at the buzzer to put UConn up by 11 at the end of one. And UConn continued their run in the second quarter, extending it to 10-0 until the Tar Heels were finally able to score. The Huskies playing suffocating defense once again. Every time UNC tried to get the ball inside, UConn would always be there. And UConn getting the ball inside on the offensive side of things, not making anything easy for North Carolina. But UConn finding the open player on offense, getting it to Sarah Strong and Ice Brady. Everybody was in sync, and UConn was also getting turnovers. UNC had more turnovers than made field goals for most of the first half until about 3 minutes left. UNC switched over to a zone that kind of disrupted UConn's offensive flow a little bit. North Carolina ended the quarter on an 8-0 run. UConn still up 38-26 at the break. And apparently, I saw there was a fight in the stands during halftime. The
Ooh.
police had to escort somebody out of the stands. There was no delay to start the second half, and things went on as schedules. But little weird scene there at halftime. But the Huskies got back on track, scoring the first 5 points of the third quarter. Paige got a bank shot to put her up to 20 points for the game. Kaylin Chen hit a three. She also hit one later in the quarter. Both teams were shooting a lot of the three-pointers tonight, but not many of them fell, especially for UNC, who was just 4-19 from downtown. Huskies were a little better, 7 for 22. But Sarah Strong couldn't get one to fall tonight. She was 0-6 from three. Of course, that was in the third quarter. North Carolina fought back a little bit, tried to stay in it. UConn pulled away at the end of the quarter. Huskies were up 58-42 going into the final 10 minutes. North Carolina, they fought back a little bit, went on a 15-3 run in about 4.5 minutes. And 4 minutes of that was with Paige Beckers not on the court. And the three-pointers I was talking about started to fall for the Tar Heels. They also drove the ball inside. UConn struggling to score again without Paige on the court. But North Carolina, they went on a little drought to end the game, about 5.5 minutes, and UConn was able to hold on for an 11-point win. Paige led the team again with 29 points. Sarah Strong a 14-13 double-double. And Geno ties Tara Vanderveer for most wins as a college head coach of all time.
Yeah, congrats to Geno for tying Vanderveer, Ryan, like you just said, Vanderveer for the most wins in NCAA D1 women's college basketball history, Ryan. So that's something to be proud of. How about Paige Beckers, though? Yeah, I mean, we already saw it coming. And against, I find it wild. It usually comes against these big ones. These big ones. You know what I mean. Everybody knows what I mean. These big ones. I mean, and that's the kind of player that those are legendary players when they can just put their team on their back, and especially against these ranked teams. And we expect that when we go up there in December against USC, right, Ryan? Yeah, but it was interesting because they shot from downtown, right? 7 for 29 on their three pointers, like you mentioned, UConn, and their 3-point percentage was about 24. So, I mean, look, I'm expecting them to improve. Obviously, I think they're still going to need at three ball a lot more come closer February and March. But for now, still early and 3-0, I'll take it. We'll all take it. Let's go over to comments, Ryan, on that last video, last check in at North Carolina. How about BRN Soldier said, homecoming, more Sarah, so you know she's going off for 20. Let's go UConn. It was close call.
Yeah, yeah, she almost got there. Like I said, 14 points, 13 rebounds. So definitely a nice double-double, and they showed her parents looking on in the stands. So I'm sure they're proud of the freshman so far. She's been really amazing the first three games, starting, of course, for UConn, playing great basketball. And despite, she still scored 14 points despite shooting 0 of 7 from three. And like the announcer said, just imagine when she starts hitting a couple of those three-pointers, she starts getting hot from that outside of the line there. She's really going to be pretty unstoppable then.
Philip Simpson said, hey guys, I'm out here on the left coast. Ryan, I guess he means the West Coast. So I seldom get to listen live, but I'm a longtime Husky fan and really depend on you guys for insights. Thank you for being informative.
Well, yeah, we're happy to provide the news for you. We'll be here all season long, of course. Of course, great start for UConn, pushing their record to 3-0. I'd assume they're going to remain at that number 2 spot in the new AP poll on Monday. So things are definitely looking good, and we're excited to cover another season here for UConn, and it's looking pretty good so far.
Jason said, I'm not going to pretend I know the outcome of this game, but my gut is telling me that it is going to be a close one. Peace. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider it close, considering the way UConn usually plays.
Yeah, I think it was honestly probably a little more closer than what it probably should have been. I think UConn kind of controlled most of the game, I would say. North Carolina definitely fought back. They tried to keep the crowd into it, and they went on a couple of those runs, and the crowd would start to get back into it a little bit. So I think they did a good job to fight back. I think UConn definitely needs to work on their offense against the zone, because I would assume teams are going to look at this film and try to practice what North Carolina did tonight with that zone to try to stop the UConn Huskies offense. But I think for the most part, UConn did a pretty good job. And another thing UConn to work on is trying to score without Paige Beckers on the court. I still think Paige needs a little more help out there. Of course, it can't always be Beckers scoring the basket for UConn all the time.
Troy Jackson, Ryan, thanks for coming through, Troy. Phil and Rye, UConn alum here, class of 2008, missed the days of Sade Houston and Katia and Renee. Can you guys tell me what you mean when you all say team scout, like when you said it's difficult for other teams to scout. Thanks if you can answer. I don't know if you brought that up or I did, Ron, but I mean, I'll answer first. I think it's not only physically, when you say someone has skill, it doesn't always have to be physical skill. I think it's a lot up to do a lot to do with up here, just your brain. And some people have, I'm not saying, oh, they're stupid or dumb, no, but I think you have to really tell it the way it is, don't you? I mean, some people have it, some people don't.
Yeah, and I think it's, most of it's all about practice too. And of course, yeah, I mean, it all comes with a lot of practice and, keep working on your craft. So, yeah, I think we'll try to continue to keep doing a pretty good job.
All right, Ryan, that's it. UConn tops North Carolina. And Ryan, I will see you on the list. Check in for the next game coming up, Phil and Rye on a Friday night. Go enjoy it, Ryan, on Listen Up.